Well, hello. Welcome back. It's me, Beanie. What's up, guys? What are you doing? You guys doing good? Well, I've had worse days. I've had better days. I'm glad this week is over. Uh, I wish this afternoon was over so I can just be free to do whatever I want. I don't have my granddaughter this weekend for the first time in like 2.5 months. Holy shit. What am I going to do with myself? Where I'm not chasing that little gremlin from touching everything. I'm going to probably miss the hell out of her. Like, where's my little distraction? But, and I have my coffee. I got to sip, you guys. I know it's rude, but I got to sip. I got to get my thinking brain on. Got a little story. You guys already know that I'm long-winded, so, if you are entertained by others' stupidity, then stay tuned, because that's what this is about. And believe me, while you're watching, you're going to be like, well, why didn't you just do this? Or why didn't you do that? Or could have done it. I know this. I know all this. I know all this. Okay, but that's not the life I live. I live an ADDer's life, and sometimes I do things out of impulsivity, and it causes me a lot of a headache, and gets me in funky situations. It's what happens. I mean, this is just a drop in the bucket. That is Beanie's Pebbles of Shame. Okay? Pebbles of Shame. I got them all for you. So last we left off about my dentures was that I told you guys something funky was on that side. So I wore them for the weekend, and by Sunday, you guys, I was jacked up. I had so many sores. My whole tongue was jacked from the friction, and I couldn't swallow anymore. You know how, like, when you have like a tooth infection, or those of us that have had dentures already, if they're not fitting right, you can get that pain inside your ear from the pressure. That's what was happening. So I had to make a trip back to Aspen to have them file it down, right? Okay. I gave it Mondays. I can't do shit. Mondays I'm just very, very busy. Tuesdays I'm very, very busy. Okay, so I gave it a couple of days. I didn't wear anything for those 2 days because the sores were that bad. In 2 days' time, from Friday to Sunday, the sores were that bad. I finally make it back to Aspen, and the girl had a little attitude this time. I said, listen, look at my tongue. She says, I don't see anything. I said, you don't see nothing on the tongue? I said, come here. You want to put your finger in here and feel this knot? So nonetheless, she went, looked at had the doctor look at it. She was like, oh girl, you got to shave that down. So that's done. Now we're driving home. The ridiculous. Like, I'm thinking about what happened in anticipation of telling you. And I'm like, dumb. You should be so embarrassed to tell anybody. Like, this is the kind of life you have. I only live once. So fuck it, I'll tell you. And then maybe if you do stupid shit in your life, you'll be like, listen, it ain't half as bad as what Beanie does. That dumb, she takes the cake. Which mug is this? Oh, Starbucks. I wanted to grab my little deer ones, but it was too high up on the cabinet and I didn't feel like getting the stool. Okay, so we're driving home. Now remember, because I had my little shaving down done, I didn't have any glue in the teeth. Okay, and I've already mentioned before that I had a penchant, especially when I first got the teeth, of playing with them a lot. When they're not glued in, I flick them out, flick them. This time I was flicking them because I just didn't want them sitting inside the mouth where the sores were, because it was still sore. Now, yes, I realized that I could have simply just taken the bottoms out. I could have put them in my purse. I could have put them in my console. I didn't, because my name is Beanie and I have impulsivity issues. I didn't fucking do it. So I'm playing with it, sort of. I just had it sitting on the bottom. And I had I'm still getting over this cold. So I had a post-nasal drip. I started, I coughed a little bit. And when I coughed, I had a whole bunch of saliva. And the teeth just kind of, tumbled out. And I'm driving when they fell out. So when I went to kind of grab them, they just bounced off the bubbies and went into, now imagine you're driving the car now, okay? So you're driving the car. They fell onto the right side. So that side is cramped. I'm already a big girl. I'm a big girl driving an Optima, like a sedan. There's not a lot of room on that, like if you drop something on the left side, like where the door is, you got room to get down there. If you drop it on this side, there's not a lot of room. Compounded by the fact I have rolls and these ham hock arms. It's like a little pterodactyl trying to get something. Now you're saying to yourself, well, Beanie, why didn't you just leave the teeth there until you got home? I don't know. I don't know why I just did not leave the teeth there until I got home. Because I don't think sometimes. I don't fucking know. So, when this happened, I was already in my little town. Okay? So here I am, reaching down, trying to reach down, trying to, I'm holding my breath, okay, go. Again, I could have simply just left the teeth there until I got home and then picked them up. I didn't do that. So as I'm, like this, all of a sudden I hear, whoop, 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 whoop. Perk up, look up. Ah, shit. Blue light special, and it's not Kmart. Down in the south, up north, the cops have red lights. Down south, they have blue lights, right? So the blue light is the cop light. I pull over, literally a block from my house. I can see my house from where I pulled over, and I pulled into the parking lot. And I'm like, okay, I figured I got pinched for speeding. Waiting for the cop. Here they get out of the car. My heart sank. It's Officer Doug. My luck. Now, I live in a little town that has quite a large police force for a small town. It's probably why it's a very safe town. To me, I live in a very, very safe town. I'm just speaking from my own experiences. I don't care about anybody else's that live in my town. I think my town is safe. I also live in the city limits, so obviously I see the police a lot more. But it's a very small, to me, especially from where I came from, it's a very small town that has a large police presence for a small town, if that makes sense. So it's not like you had 3 cops to pick from, was it Mo, Larry, and Curly, and you get Curly every time. You got a few to pick from. And I look up, it's fucking Officer Doug. Now, this is where I'm going to stop the story, and I'm going to give you a brief backstory to Officer Doug and my relationship. Because this is why this is just, a dumb moment for me. Officer Doug is the first person to ever pull me over when I moved down south. Ever. Down south. And that time he pinched me for not wearing a seatbelt on my way home from the grocery store. I didn't put my seatbelt on because the grocery store is literally a quarter of a mile from my house. And I was lazy. And it wasn't because I wasn't even that big then, I don't think. Yeah, I was chunky, but I wasn't as big as I am now. I just was lazy. He pinched me, he saw me. He was parked in the bank. He saw me. He followed me into my driveway, you guys. But by then I had already jumped out of the car. So he couldn't prove that I didn't have the seatbelt on or not. And that time, there's a whole situation behind that. That was a disaster. Anyways, he gave me a warning. And in the South, Where I live, they give you actually paper warnings. Like, you get a warning. Like, it's not like up north, if you got a warning, unless it was like a warning about a headlight where you had to show them in 24 hours that the headlight was fixed. A warning was just a verbal warning. Down here, their verbal warnings are still paper warnings. Like, you get a paper, kind of looks like a ticket, but it's a warning. So that was that time. Then Officer Doug got me. Next time I want to say he got me was either for not using a turn signal. No, because was that the next one? Doesn't matter. Every time I get pulled over, knock on wood, it seems to happen in my little town, and it's always Officer Doug, for the exception of one time. I had the big girl. Officer Doug has got me for seatbelt, headlight, taillight, riding left of center, and that was like literally again in front of my house, and I was looking at my phone. This was several years ago. I don't do that shit no more. Like, the phone, I don't touch it. But I wasn't perfect. I was looking at my phone. Again, there was nothing on my phone that couldn't have waited the 2 minutes, because I was right in front of my house to pull into my, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not making excuses. He's gotten me for that one. 2.5 years ago, he got me twice in 2 weeks on my way to work, for speeding both times. Both times were over 20 miles over the speed limit, and that's where our relationship got a little sour. So when this was the first time I got pinched for speeding, and it really wasn't speeding. I was, if you want to be technical about it, but it's this 2-lane highway, so it's, one direction. The speed limit is 55 miles an hour for miles and miles and miles, and then out of nowhere, boom, it drops down to like 30. I mean, you're not paying attention, and everybody else was, you know what I'm saying? So, but he got me twice in 2 weeks. And for those, I'm like, I'm going to court. Like, up north, I always went to court, and I always got it pled down to a non-moving violation. I mean, you still pay out the ass up north, but, for the non-moving, but, you don't get points. So the first time I go to court, I had never been to, a southern court situation. So like I said, they do things differently. The cop does not go out of his way to talk to every single person that he has a ticket against. If you don't go to the clerk and ask the clerk to speak to the officer, you're not going to talk to the officer before you go in front of the magistrate. So I was glad that somebody had told me about it, because I was sitting there like a dum-dum, and I'm like, when's he going to ask to speak to me? Because up north, that's how they do it. The cop asks, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's a business up north. They make money either way. So they will ask to speak to you. And then, you shuck and jive, you negotiate. Everything is negotiable. And me, I love negotiating. So my first experience was a fucking flop ass. I mean, flop ass. He did not budge at all. And he was actually nasty that day. I mean, he's not overly friendly, but, he was like real stank. And then, so after he talks to me and he was like, there's nothing I can do about it. I have you on radar. I said, when's the last time you were calibrated? I mean, that's an outdated, excuse, well, not excuse, but, way to try to circumvent a ticket. And I was also trying to catch him because where he got me both times was he was parked on a church parking lot. So it's not a public parking lot, it's a church lot. And so I was trying to get him on a technicality of why, you can't be tracking people on a church lot. You can be on the road. You can't be up in the parking lot. And apparently there's the county that I live in, there's nothing distinguishing that. So it doesn't matter. So he tells me no. So I'm already sitting there seething because I was looking forward to the negotiating, right? And when he just shot me down and there was Nothing. Like, and again, I didn't know their processes, but I just assumed their processes were like my processes up north. So I'm sitting there and I'm seething, right? So the choice was, he's not budging. So I can go in front of the judge, and the judge will just corroborate what he says and then just give me my fine. Or I can just say, and go and just pay the lady at the window and just bounce. So I was just like pissed, and I'm like, okay, when I get like this, I'm not going to be able to articulate myself in front of the judge, properly, because I'm mad. Well, what made it even worse was then this bitch after me goes up, he calls a boy's name, but this lady gets up. The boy is sitting down. So I look over. It's a little fucking teenager, right? 15, 16 years old. They can drive young where I live. And I hear, they're standing right by me. So I hear the mama pleading the baby's case and, praying for, you didn't get another chance, and da-da-da-da. And she was pretty. I'm not even going to say that she wasn't pretty. I'm not saying that I'm not pretty, but I'm just going to keep it real. I went there looking like a slop ass. I'm not the thin, voluptuous Beanie I once was. I'm, rotund. And let's not play that society doesn't go by that. And let's not play that most men don't judge by that. Hell yeah, they do. Weight is a huge thing in this, and we can have a conversation about this in another time. But I'm just saying, I know the deal. This woman, she was beautiful. And, he literally let me say nothing. This boy was doing 30 miles over the speed limit off of, we have like a 4-lane highway that's, that comes into our town, into the road that I got pinched on. This boy was doing 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, coming down the down ramp. He's only had his license for 6 fucking months. And Officer Doug talked him down to a 10-mile over the speed limit violation. So he went from like a $400 ticket to, I think, $100, not even $75 or something like that. And no points. No fucking points. And here I am. I've been driving since I'm 16 years old. I got a clean record because, like I said, I negotiate everything out. And you're not even willing to talk to me. And so at that point, I'm already feeling super salty about this, right? So then I was like, fuck this. Went up to the thing. I said, how much is this ticket? And I just paid the shit, right? I took my 2 points and said, and left, went to work. So it was a running joke in my office at the time with my boss, because he was like, how's it going, Leadfoot? I was tight. He said, how to negotiate, because I was bragging. I'm like, I'm going to negotiate this down. And I didn't. So now I have to go back 2 weeks later, right? So now when I go back 2 weeks later, now, mind you, I didn't have to go back 2 weeks later. I could have simply just went and paid the ticket and been done with it. But that would have been 4 fucking points in 2 weeks. And then even if I take the driver improvement course online, that's only going to absorb 3 points, which means I'm going to have a lingering 1 point, which means that my insurance is going to snag me and possibly raise my rates. Hell no. No. So I'm like, I'm going to go again, but this time I'm going to go in front of the judge. And this time I'm just going to, like now I'm salty Beanie. And I've already said before in previous videos, I try not to be salty Beanie. Because when I'm salty Beanie, I come out the side of my neck and I don't give a shit. It's part of where I grew up. It's part of who I am. It's part because I'm a Scorpio. And I'm going to come and get you. I'm going to get you. You're going to remember having an interaction with me. Even if I don't come out as the winner on top, you will always remember the I say to you. Because I'm going to come and I'm going to hurt your feelings. Like, that's how I get when I get mad. And that's why I try not to be that way. So I come into the court. I'm salted, right? I saunter up, right up to the desk. I said, I'd like to speak to the officer. And I hand her my ticket. I said, I'd like to speak to the officer before we see the magistrate. And they try to talk you out of it at the window, And I was like, no, I'd like to talk to the officer before I see the magistrate. And she said, okay. And I go and I sit down. Old Chunky Dunk calls me about 15 minutes later. So I had simmered a bit, but then as soon as he called me, I heard him. It fueled my hate fire, right? So he pulls, I get up, and he kind of just takes me to the side. They don't have a designated room to discuss this. He just kind of talks to the side, and he's looking at my ticket. Doesn't even recognize me, or doesn't acknowledge that he recognizes me. And I was like, is there anything you can do about this ticket? Can we talk about? And he was like, yeah, I don't really think you can. I said, oh, you can't. I said, all right, well then, you know what? I'm going to see you. I'll see you when we go in front of the judge. I called it the judge. They call it a magistrate where I live. It's a judge. I said, all right then. I said, I'll see you in front of the judge. And I immediately flipped. My face turns red. I was like, you can't do nothing. And he's like, yeah, everything's on radar. I said, you know what, that's interesting? I said, that's interesting, Officer Doug, which is not his name. I said, you know what's interesting? I said, I was here 2 weeks ago. You said the same shit to me. And I said, and the very next lady, I said, who was talking for her son wasn't even man enough to come and talk to you himself. You talked down to 30 mile an hour over the speed limit, coming off a highway, blah, blah, blah. Knocked it down to a 10 mile and over violation. And that's for a new driver. I said, if anything, you should have spanked his hands to teach him a lesson. Instead, now he thinks his mom is going to come and do everything for him. I said, that's fine. That's fine. I said, I will see you in front of the judge. And I fucking sped off, and I went and I sat in my seat. And I was loud. I'm not saying the whole waiting, because it's a huge waiting room. Not the whole waiting room heard me, but whoever was along that side wall, they heard. I was fired up. Because A, you don't even remember that you saw me 2 weeks ago. And don't take up for Officer Doug. Okay, again, we live in a small town. He's not a county cop. He's a town cop. He ain't seen all that many people. He and I, we've had so many interactions. He knows who I am. Because when he does pull me over, he'll say, I live next to a business. So he'll say, hey, Miss So-and-so. So he correlates me with living next to this business. So he knows who the fuck I am. So the fact that, he's just shucking jiving me, but now you're not willing to negotiate shit with me, I just got tight. Because I'm like, I'm going to have to pay this $400 anyways. I'm going to have to get the 2 points. I'm going to have to take this class. I'm fired. I'm fired up thinking about it because I was so mad. I was insulted. I was insulted. And I sat there, I don't know, probably like 20, 25 minutes. And at this point, I hadn't been there that long the last time. So I'm assuming, yeah, because we're going in front of the judge. We're definitely going in front of the judge. And I'm still going to take it on the chin in front of the judge. But I'm going to make sure that I point out to the judge, I've been driving for 30 something years. I got a good record. I don't have big issues. And he talked it down for a 15-year-old kid who was a reckless driver, in my opinion. But he's not going to throw me a bone. Why? That's the whole narrative I was running in my head, you guys. So about 20, 25 minutes later, I'm misreading, the signals of what's happening. Why? I'm thinking we're going to the judge. No, I hear somebody calling me, right? Calling me. But I'm still in the hate fire. And Officer Doug is now standing next to me. And he said, can I talk to you for a minute? So I stand up. And he said, I had a chance to go back and relook at my notes. And, what I think I can do for you is I think I can knock you down to a 10 mile and over, 10 miles over the speed limit. And, it won't be any points. And you'll just have to pay your fine if you think that'll work for you. I said, yeah, fine. I said, what do I need to do? Go pay that lady? And he said, yeah, you'd go and pay her. I said, well, how is she going to know that you're moving it down? And he's like, well, I said, do we have to go in front of the judge? And he said, no, I'm just going to, do whatever he does on his end. And then they go and tell the clerk. And I said, all right, fine. I didn't say thank you. I didn't say nothing because I was still mad. So then I didn't see Officer Doug for like a year. And the last time I had seen him was June of last year. So not this past June, but the June before. The kids had just left my house. We spent the day together. I cooked for them. It was about 10 o'clock at night. My daughter calls me screaming in a panic. Debris came off of the highway. We have a major interstate where we live, and they've been doing construction for a long time. And there was construction material on an overpass that got blown off and went down into the major highway, and it was like a 4-car accident, and my kids were the 4th car in that accident. They had just had the baby. She was only a few months old. My daughter's freaking out, and I'm getting in the car. I'm like, okay, I'm coming, and speeding through town to get to the kids, and just past the church, and whoop whoop, who is it? Officer Doug. So now he was rough with me. As soon as he saw it was me, he was rough. And he said, license registration. I already had it ready for him when he came over. And he said, I pulled you over. And I was like, because I was speeding. And he was just like, I was like, listen, can you just give me my ticket so I can go? I said, my daughter has just been in this serious accident. I said, I have to get to her. I said, can you just give me my ticket and let me go? And I was, so every time this guy sees me, and I'm leaving out a lot of the interactions because we're already 20 minutes in. Every interaction I've had with him has been like a weirdo interaction. Like one time I told him my car looked like a hoarder's car. Don't look at my car. It's a hoarder's car. Because I was working 2 jobs. I had all my stuff from one job to the next job, and then my gym stuff. So we have this stressed interaction. So just as I said, can you just give me my ticket so I can go? My daughter called, and I picked up, I said, listen, I got to get this. This is my kid. And I put it on speaker, and my daughter is screaming. And she said, Mommy, where are you? Mommy, are you coming? Mommy, where? Because he probably thought I was full of shit when I said, something happened to my kid, and that's why. Any other time I lied. I'm telling you, I said I was speeding. Give me the fucking ticket. I gotta go. And I said, get me the ticket. I gotta go. The kid is crying, and I'm telling my daughter, I said, you gotta pull yourself together. Calm down. Did you call 911? She said, no. I said, why have you not called 911? She says, well, I thought the other cars already called 911. I said, don't assume that somebody else called 911. Dum-dum. Call 911. I said, call 911 and I'm coming. And when I hear her upset, I'm not a big crier, except if I'm premenstrual. I'm a crier. But when my daughter cries, I cry. And that's just for the simple fact is, I feel her pain. So when she's crying, because she's like, oh, the baby could have been hurt and the car is, fucked up. And I said, okay, I'm coming. I said, but you got to call. I said, you got to call AAA. And I said, you got to call 911. I said, you got to make sure that you have a report into 911 as well. So while this is all happening, Officer Doug is he's on the little bleep bleep with his dispatcher asking if there is a report for this incident on the highway. And she says, I don't see anything. And he says, we'll call county and make sure county gets somebody out there. So he really did me a solid there. And he was like, I was like, can you, and I'm still being mean, I'm still being spiteful, a spiteful Scorpio. And Officer Doug I'm like, can you just give me my ticket? Because he still got my license and my registration and my insurance. So I said, can you just give me my ticket? I said, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I said, but I got to go to my kid. And he said, listen, I can't let you go anywhere until you calm down. He said, you got to calm down. I said, they got the baby in the car. I said, the baby's in the car. I said, she's only a few months old. And I said, they're up in this particular highway, people don't, They don't pay attention. And where this accident happened was in the middle of where like 3 lanes and 2 lanes converge into one, because there's an overpass there. And so there's only a little strip of median underneath that overpass that protects past. They couldn't get to the other side where they would have been safe, which is 2 aisles over. And they couldn't get to the breakdown lane 3 aisles over. So it was a very dangerous situation. So, and I'm aware of that, because the people down here drive like assholes. They don't put on their hazard lights. They don't respect when people are broken down to move their car or slow down. So he said, well, I can't let you go. And I was like, well, listen, I said, you're going to have to do something. I said, you want to escort me? I said, escort me. I said, I have to get to these kids. And he's like, all right. He just handed me back my stuff. He says, all right, you gotta slow down. And he said, you got to pull yourself together, Mom. Pull yourself together, Mom. Which is the first time he treated me like a human being. And then that was that. So now that's a brief overview of the animosity, the love and hate, the tug of war that me and Officer Doug have. So now I get pulled over. Whoop, whoop. My teeth are on the floor. This is not like when the teeth first came out and you couldn't tell that I didn't have bottom teeth in. You can pretty much tell, unless I take my tongue and hold it out there. I mean, it's going to be noticeable if the bottoms aren't in. And so here he comes. License and registration. So this time I'm like, play it totally different. I'm like, hey. I'm like, how are you? I don't give a fuck. And he was like, I'm good. He's like, license and registration. Do you know why I pulled you over? I said, I have absolutely no idea. I said, I was not speeding. And he said, no, you weren't speeding. He said, you were riding right of center. I said, what? And he said, you were riding right of center. I said, I don't know what that means, because the way that he was saying it, I didn't understand. And he said, this is the center line. You were riding, not the center line. He said, this is the center of the lane. You were riding right of center. He was like, you're on the shoulder. I said, I was on the shoulder. I said, how was I even on the shoulder? Again, when cops come, don't be like me. Don't be argumentative and question shit. I just happened to be able to get away with it. But most people wouldn't. A cop probably wouldn't take kindly to that. Get down, Lammy. I said, no. I said, oh. I said, so there's a reason for that. And he was like, intrigued. I said, is your thing on? And he says, ma'am. I said, is your dash camera thing on? He said, that's not a dash camera, that's a chest camera. And I said, you know what I'm saying? I said, is that on? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, well, don't share this story with your friends. I said, I was picking up my teeth. And he said, ma'am? I said, I was picking up my teeth. I said, my teeth fell down, and I was reaching down to try to pick up my teeth. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, this is not, you should have never said this, because now they're going to say, you should have just waited. So this is what I did. And I'm not condoning this, by the way. I said, I was picking up my teeth. Okay, so how did I say? I was picking up my teeth. And I said, I just came from the dentist. My teeth fell out of my mouth. And I was trying to pick them up. I said, because I didn't want to step on them, because I'm a big girl. I used my fatness. I did. Listen, I was trying to get out of this. I said, I didn't want to step on them with my feet and break them. I just paid a lot of money for them. And this dude just stood there holding my, like, say this is my license and registration. It's Bath and Body Works coupons. So let's just say he's holding them and he's just looking down at them, processing, and I'm talking really fast, right? And I said, you didn't even notice, did you? I said, you didn't even notice I have new teeth. I said, look at you, look. I said, I'm looking at you with my mouth totally open. I've got new teeth. I said, right? I said, you didn't even notice. I said, that hurt my feelings. You didn't even notice. I said, so yeah. I said, what happened was my teeth fell out. I said, I reached down to try to pick them up because I didn't want them to get shoved under my where my foot is and where the pedal is and break them. I mean, I just paid, a couple $1,000s for these, He doesn't need to know the whole situation, that these are only the temporaries. I was just trying to talk my way out of the game. And he said, I'll be right back. So I'm like, well, I came up with some bullshit on the fly. And if y'all have ever been pulled over, you know that if they go in the car and they come back relatively quickly, all they did was look up your shit, saw that you had a clean license, and are going to give you back your thing. This was not that case. He was back there for a hot minute. He was back there ticket time. So if you're getting a ticket, he's got to enter all your stuff and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this motherfucker's going to give me a ticket. Oh, well, what else is new, Officer Doug? And he comes back and he has a piece of paper. I'm like, this motherfucker. I'm like, I hate you. I have a hate fire for you, Doug. But really, I know I shouldn't hate Doug because it's my own fault. I get that. But listen, it's better to hate somebody else other than myself. And he says, here's your stuff. That's not, he didn't give me money. This license, it's just here. He's handing me back my license and registration. And he was like, and then I have this for you. This is a warning. And he only gave me a warning. That's the end of the story. The end of the story was he gave me a warning. And I said, cool, thanks. And he said, you're welcome. And he said, do you want to pick up your teeth? And I said, oh, yeah, why I didn't even do it while I was waiting, I didn't want to, shuck around in the car and make him think that I was doing something funny, so I didn't. So I undo my seatbelt, I get out, I reach down, I get my teeth, and I said, I'm not going to put them back in right now. I said, because they're dirty. And he said, okay. I said, don't tell your friends, please. And he was like, I won't. And then he said, Miss So-and-so? I said, yeah. And he said, you're a mess. I'm a fucking mess. But I wasn't offended when he said that, because the way he said it was like he was my homeboy at that moment. At that moment, he's like, you're a mess. I said, I know. I said, thank you. He said, have a good day. He said, whatever else. But anyways, so that's it. 40 minutes later, that's my story. I'm long-winded, you guys. If you stuck in there for the story, great. But you had to understand the backstory about me and Doug to understand why this situation with the teeth was only me. Only me, and here he comes again. And it's not like we're soulmates or anything like that. Believe me, we're not. He's married. And he doesn't, no, it's just that it always turns out it's always him. Always him. And I'm like, and I'm kind of my own self, and I'm like, don't share it with your friends. I urge, please don't talk to police officers like that, or anybody that, you could end up with, clink, clink. I just, don't take me as an example for talking shit. Don't do that. I just get away with it a lot. I don't know. I do it all the time. When I go to the doctors all the time, I talk shit too. I talk shit to everybody. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's how you get the pass. Anyhow, that's it for my story. I hope you hung in there. If you did, holy shit, you're a good viewer. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.